In light of George Russell's post-qualifying comments today, it is time for an episode of Behind the Beef, a series where, in less than 3 minutes, I tell you everything you need to know about a sporting beef. Today's beefcakes are Max Verstappen and George Russell. This is Max Verstappen. While everybody on the grid's job is car go fast, Max's car tends to go fastest. He's a 4-time world champion and he currently drives for Red Bull Racing, a team that has been, until this year, at the very top of the standings. However, things have been a little bit different this year, and Max has found himself really fighting and getting frustrated as we go through the season. On the other side of the ring, we have beefcake number 2, George Russell. While George also drives for a top team with Mercedes and has a number of race wins under his belt, he has not ever won a World Drivers' Championship. George is also the head of the Grand Prix Drivers Association. So now that you know both of our beefcakes, let's get into the beef itself. At the 2024 Qatar Grand Prix, Max Verstappen qualified on pole. However, towards the end of that qualifying session, Max was on a cooldown lap trying to cool down his tires. And George Russell felt that he was impeded and reported that over the radio in a pretty strong way, saying that Verstappen was driving extremely dangerously. Max and George were seen having a rather heated exchange, and that heated exchange continued in the steward's office. Ultimately, it was ruled that Max would receive a 1-place grid penalty for driving unnecessarily slowly. But whatever was said in the steward's room was really where this beef started, because Max's interviews afterwards were quite heated, where he stated that he had never seen someone try to screw someone else over that hard. And Max went on to say that he had lost all respect for George Russell over this issue. But the following week, things heated up even more, because at Media Day, George Russell hit back. He called Max a bully, stated that it was ironic that Max would question George's integrity, when George stated that Max threatened to go out of his way to put his effing head in the wall. But by the beginning of the season, it seemed like both Max and George wanted to bury the hatchet, until we got to Barcelona. Max had a tough safety car restart due to a tire choice, and while he was quickly passed by Charles Leclerc in a Ferrari, George Russell moved to make an overtake. Max moved off the track in order to keep his position, but due to some bad advice from his team, was told to hand the position back. While Max was arguing with his engineer over the radio, he also slowed down, appearing to allow George to pass him. As George made that move, Max then sped up, which resulted in contact. And in press after the race, George utilized the sandwich method, where he said that it was a shame because Max is one of the greatest drivers in the world, but maneuvers like this are unnecessary, and it's a shame for all of the young kids watching at home. Max was quite frustrated after the race, but ultimately he did issue an apology, which this week George stated he was surprised to see. Both of these incidents between Max and George ended in Max receiving penalty points. In Formula 1, if you receive 12 penalty points in a 12-month period, you have an automatic single race suspension. Max is now 1 point away from receiving that suspension. At the end of a very intense qualifying today, George ends up taking pole position, directly ahead of Max Verstappen in second. And in George's post-qualifying interview, George brings up those penalty points, saying that he has more points on his license to play with. This is where the beef currently stands, but the two of these guys will be starting the Canadian Grand Prix tomorrow from the front row. Let me know if you have a favorite in the fight and what you think will happen at turn 1 tomorrow.